this is the first time I'm seeing the inside of a Google Meet, by the way. Speaking of technology.
I had to adapt to that too. So
what is this?
What is this sorcery?
I wanted to start by saying something that I think I probably don't say often enough, which is just what a huge impact you have had on me and my career. I think you set the tone for me in terms of what it means to be authentic at work. And, you know, we never spoke about it. I look back now and I realize that I had a pretty rough first few years in the corporate world, but it was you who got me really engaged and feeling like anything is possible. So before we started, I just wanted to say that I think you're a legend. I really admire you and I'm very grateful.
Well, you know, I would say it's very mutual, Sophie. Like, you inspired me. I remember first meeting you, learning a little bit about your story. And I always thought you were so incredibly brave, so early. And I always thought, gosh, I wish I had been as brave as you when I was your age, you know. And I'm hitting 50 this year, so I'm speaking from further down the train line, so to speak. And I always really admired that about you. And I think you were one of the people who made me want to be, you know, a better leader, a better person, and to do that for people, you know, like you and others. So the respect and the inspiration is definitely mutual.
I made myself your shadow, I think, at the first few years of my career, and that is a height joke, by the way. You know, shadows are normally like
yeah. I guess, especially given I'm like 5'4" and you're like what, 5'10" and 5'11". Yeah,
6'15". Yeah,
it was always challenging.
All right, let's get into it, because the first topic that I wanted to chat to you about is authenticity. As I mentioned, that's kind of the thing that most defines you to me. I heard you say recently, and I loved it, that authenticity shouldn't excuse good judgment, and that sometimes the moment calls for you to be both authentic and appropriate. And I wanted to know, why didn't you tell me the appropriate part 10 years ago?
Because I'm not sure I knew it then.
Just kidding. I'm kidding. That's not my question. But I do wish I could turn back time and have got that lesson earlier. My question is, in the spirit of authenticity, can you tell us about a mistake that you have made and how you feel about it in retrospect?
Yeah, like, and I think, you know, and I've taken on that theme of authenticity. You know, I've always thought, Sophie, that I have a great sense of humor, you know, a really good sense of humor. Like, I'm a funny person, really, I am. Comes from growing up one of 5 kids. You've just got to laugh your way through it. And but I think to that threat, like, I know that in times, you know, we've been in meetings or environments and something's been said and I thought something funny and then I opened my mouth and then it came out. And really, it's not what the moment called for. And I didn't maybe understand or thought about the impact of that comment. And so, you know, mouth engaged, brain not, and then, you know, I hurt somebody's feelings or didn't show respect to a moment that maybe needed a different level of emotion and response. So I definitely have done that. And I know that, you know, first time somebody gave me feedback on how that made them feel, I felt terrible because clearly that was not my intention. But actually, it doesn't matter what your intention is. It matters the impact that you have on people. And so it was that first moment of actually feeling absolutely gutted that I'd caused distress in that way that started making me think, well, actually, you know, one, so grateful that somebody had said that to me, but starting to make sure that I was way more, you know, cognizant of the moment. And that's an interesting dynamic, isn't it, about, you know, all parts of us, you know, the funny part of me, the serious part of me, the thoughtful, those are all still parts of me. But, you know, really trying to understand, what does the moment call for right now? Does it call for, you know, me to be more empathetic? Does it require me to be more challenging and daring? And really thinking about what part of me I bring out right now. And it's not that that other part of me doesn't exist. It is just a level of consciousness about what is required, what do other people need from me right now, versus actually maybe what might I want to do right now, or my initial reaction being. And I think that, you know, people talk about servant leadership or anything. That's part of that for me, is truly understanding what others need versus maybe what you do. And I know that's a lighter-hearted view, but actually I think it's those those comments and things like that can create great distress for other people.
And it doesn't make you any less authentic.
Clearly you've been internet stalking me, but the other thing I say to people is two things can be true at the same time. Yes. So sometimes as humans, I think we struggle to hold the two things at the same time. So let's flip that other side of that conversation. I've been in rooms where people have said things that have really infuriated me, as I felt they're either, biased or inappropriate and lots of reasons. And so I've had this belief that what has just been said is highly inappropriate. And then I've had this other belief that, if I say something, does that put, my career at risk or my relationships at risk? So two things can be true at the same time. Yes, I can feel distraught, anger, fury. I can feel fear, concern. So our human brain sometimes struggles to hold those two things at the same time. And then we have a belief, those two beliefs. Those beliefs create feelings. So this belief around this being inappropriate creates a feeling of, that anger or frustration and, I need to do something. And this belief of concern that, if I say something, I'll hurt my relationships, might create fear. And generally, we react to our feelings. So what are we making a decision on at that point? Which feeling wins that creates a behavior or a reaction? Does the fear win? And so you say nothing, or does, your drive for equality and inclusion win, so you take a different action? And that's why, I think in leadership, you have to create environments where when you're reacting to two things at the same time, people can feel very safe to stand up and say, actually, that's not appropriate, or that's, not including other people, or, that's actually, exceptionally biased, or, doing that, versus if they're too scared to stand up for their values. So finding ways to hold two things and two sets of emotions, but then to clear the air and say, which one am I taking forward into an action, I think is something we've got to do, so you can bring those parts of you, to your job and to the world.
You were still I tried to do the maths on this earlier, and I'm pretty sure you were still in your 30s when you were appointed head of Microsoft in Australia. I look at where I am now, and I think a lot of people have this sensation where it's like, oh God, like it's too late for me. Like I needed to be a child star in order to achieve what she has achieved. Did you have a point in your career when you were like, you pivoted towards kind of the big league, or was it kind of incremental over time?
So I'd say a couple of things on there. You asked about, was there a moment for me? I think my career was pretty organic. Okay, I wasn't overly thoughtful early on. I made some mistakes. One of my early mistakes was, taking a job for $500 more than the other, and ended up at a place that I didn't love. The culture wasn't good. I wasn't treated with respect. Got out of there. Early lesson, and money doesn't buy you respect in a great culture. You got to look for organizations.
It was $500.
But okay, but I told you. I know. Remember, I'm 50 this year, so $500 like 30 years ago. Can we do
that was in sterling. Oh.
Pennies. I don't know. I'm not that. But I think there was a really monumental moment for me. Actually, was when I was back in Microsoft in my 30s. I'd been living in the US for 8 years with Microsoft. I'd come back and I was working for Steve Amos. And I remember being in his office one day, and he was having a career chat with me. And Steve is just an exceptional leader who really pushed you on your career and your aspirations. And he said to me, Pip, do you want to be managing director of Microsoft Australia one day? And I was like, oh, I don't know, it's a big job. I think there's a lot of other people probably better than me to do it. He just shook his head. He said, I didn't ask you about anybody else. It's about you. What do you want? And, when he did that, it was a lesson in, don't leave people wondering what your aspirations are. What it's okay for you to declare your career aspirations. Because in my head, I was like, God, yeah, I would love to do that, but maybe I'm not worthy. So we should be able to say what our aspirations are. And for me, I also felt like if I said that, I wouldn't be seen as a team player, or maybe I'd come across as arrogant. It's not arrogant for you to have a career aspiration. It's just human. Feeling you're entitled to it is arrogance. Feeling like you want to the right to do that, that's okay. So, Steve really got me thinking about that differently. And then he watched with me and said, well, look, he said, I said, well, yes, I would like to do that. And I said, what do you think what do you think I'm missing? What do you think I need to do to be eligible to be a great candidate? And we workshopped that. And we workshopped the career and development plan in his office that day. And he said to me, Pip, we do all this. I reckon by 40 years old, you can be in that gig. And yeah, I got, interviewed, and I got that job 5 months short of my 40th birthday.
Okay, that's it as far as topics. Are you ready for your fast five?
I sure am. See how fast I am. I've already had one piece, so that should help.
I'm timing you. Okay, first, what gives you energy?
My family and friends.
What takes it away?
Politics and selfishness.
Last text message you received? Not from me, by the way. We don't discuss that one.
Yeah, I got a good morning, Mum, from Lucy this morning because I'm away.
She's a muffin. Lucy. Last thing you bought for yourself?
Cup of coffee.
Congrats, that's a big one. You earned it.
Not as exciting as we thought, was it?
Oh, yeah, I was thinking, like, what's the handbag of the season? But okay, coffee.
I did get a beautiful orange handbag at Christmas. Love it.
That's more like it. I bet the girls are all over that already as well.
Oh, especially Sophie. Oh, yeah.
Sophie, you got to be careful.
Yes, my Sophie and you both have good taste in handbags.
And then final one, and you've already given me one name here, so I'll challenge you to give me a different one. Is anybody who you'd like to say thank you to who's helped you in your career? Oh,
that would be my dearest Tracy Fellows, who's in the US with you in New York. Like Tracy pushed me, I think, harder than anybody else, but she supported me harder than anybody else as well. She really challenged me in ways that just made me think differently, gave me a lot of stretch assignments. Oh, when she rang me and said, I want you to run public sector, I almost fell off my chair. Public sector, I didn't know that business. But that what she had me take on there, actually, I think was the best thing possible to help me prepare to be the MD for Microsoft. So a huge thank you to Tracy.
Well, that's it. Hey, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day for Humans of LinkedIn. I've loved catching up with you and getting your story.
Well, I wish you all the best. I miss you, and I'm so glad you're enjoying Seattle. It's a beautiful part of the world.
Thank you very much, and I'll chat to you again soon.
Bye, Sophie.